Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I will be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Out of Darkness, the what Paleolithic horror film no one asked for. That's what we're here for tonight. Joining me tonight, first up from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
Next up from Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Eric, I am always demanding more period horror. I love we've discussed this. I love period. This is like the most extreme version of period horror.
It's true.
In two ways.
Yeah. Unintended.
Okay, there you go. And we did it, guys. Good work. All right.
Do you watch, John, did you watch Super Bowl?
I did watch Super Bowl, yes.
What'd you think?
Great. A lot of fun. I mean, the first half terrible. Second half,
first half kind of boring. It got real good though.
It's great when your team is not involved and you can just sort of like drink and like have a good time and not fucking, be
100%. Yeah, we
with a heart attack.
Some of the boys were hanging out on Slack. Mondo, big 49ers fan, was losing his shit. He actually was being very calm. The rest of us were teasing him about it.
When you said some of the boys, and I was like, wow, Eric had people over. Get out of here.
No. I was hanging out with my brothers for a while, but then I was like, I would like to go home and be alone and watch this so I can enjoy it. And because I also have my kids, so I was like, home. I watched the first quarter of the kids, then I put them to bed, and then I enjoyed the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was like the latest my kids have been awake. Definitely the youngest. It's the latest she's been awake. She was allowed to almost make it to the end, not quite, but
yeah, that ruins my day so hard the next day. I don't really let my kids stay up. It's not worth it.
No, I mean it did, but it is what it is.
Were your girls watching excited for Taylor?
Yeah, they were rooting for Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team. Specifically, and then had to keep asking which team that was.
The only part that the girls watched was the halftime show, which they very much enjoyed.
Nice.
I'm just as puzzled as I was when they announced it was going to be Usher. Like, fine.
Oh, what Usher? I mean, it was not a great halftime show. That's my opinion. But Usher is a delight.
He's fine.
Fine. All right. Okay.
He doesn't have the catalog that you need to do the halftime show, John.
The hits pop, though. I mean, I tend to agree with you, but
my favorite part is that Jermaine Dupri came out, and A is fully bald, which like his only signatures was the cornrows, and B was dressed so weirdly, literally nobody even knew who he was.
Well, everybody like in our group, people were like, "Is that CeeLo? And did CeeLo lose a lot of weight?"
Yeah,
I thought it was CeeLo.
I mean. The hair, like it's the hair and then the glasses. Like it was sort of like, plus it's like the setting. You're like, maybe CeeLo's a guest. I don't know. Like what? It was weird. So
my only problem with the halftime show was I knew the last song, and that's not Usher's fault or the NFL's fault. I just knew that's the only song I knew, so it wasn't a whole lot.
I would say I knew half of them probably.
I was highly impressed by.
When the Lil Jon drop came in, I was...
Everybody knows, Lil Jon. It was hard for me not to feel like... Because growing up, like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, that was my jam. So, like, they did that 2 years ago and killed it. This felt like the B team to me. Like, oh, you guys can do this too. Okay, bring Ludacris out. Like, It's a little bit of a different generation. I get that. Like, different era, but...
Yeah,
I was highly impressed by the dancers on rollerblades, though. That was cool as hell.
The roller skating was impressive.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So.
John, I'm also sick.
Yeah.
Which is just, you could see, any given day you could say that about me this time of year. It's probably true.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm coughing. I sound like crap, but I'm here, John.
You look great, though, so that's what matters.
How dedicated I am.
That's what it matters to the podcast fan.
I do look great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. All right. Let's take a quick break and discuss Out of Darkness.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
I like don't even know what to do when you compliment me, John. I'm flush over here.
I got another. I'm actually so impressed that you haven't called this movie Out of the Darkness yet, because I keep wanting to call it Out of the Darkness, but you nailed it the first
or
couple
Into
times.
the Darkness or Into Darkness.
Yeah, there's a lot
or,
of you could be moving through the darkness in lots of ways. So
I'm on fire tonight, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
You. John, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is footslog. That's FOOTSLOG. Footslog. Had never heard this one. It is especially used in the context of a soldier or sort of military, but it is a walk or march for a long distance, typically wearily or with effort. Footslog.
That's got to be German, right?
I was googling etymology. Earliest known use of the verb footslog is in the 1890s, and it was in the Cedar Rapids Evening Gazette. So there you go.
So you're telling me the origins of that word are Iowa?
Yeah, and much later than this film is set, which is an unusual one.
We can talk about it. Casey and I both had the same reaction when the title card comes up. It's like 44,000 years ago, and you're like, I know a little bit about Asian history, John. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but
No,
I dabble. And I went, what? I was like, were people talking like this 44? So I'm like Googling. I'm sitting in the theater. The movie's happening.
The theater. That's
By the way, it's all subtitled. So if you're not paying attention, you're missing shit.
Yeah.
I'm on my phone Googling, when did people speak? I was trying to figure out the right combination of words to answer the question I wanted. According to Google, it was like 100,000 years ago. So I guess I was wrong.
I was.
But they are very eloquent.
Well, it's not that much speaking. Like, I mean, when you say they're eloquent, like, it's not like they're like having.
There is something about the manner in which they speak to each other that to me felt anathema to how I would expect basically cave people to be speaking to each other.
We can get into it. I think that is relevant for where the film goes and sort of at what unfolds. Yeah, I mean, so tell
me about
quickly
Out of Darkness.
Out of Darkness. It is,
which is really where you want to be. You don't want to go into it. Sometimes you have to, but
I mean, if I'm trying to take a nap, I would like to be in the darkness. You know,
naps.
This is a debut feature by a young gentleman named Andrew Cumming, written by the director Andrew and then Ruth Greenberg, who had also a debut here, and then also another writer credited, Oliver Castman, who was also one of the producers. This was made during the pandemic in Scotland, funded largely by Scotland and the BFI, which is like the British Film Institute. I don't know if you clocked it in the beginning. They have the title cards, and one of them is like basically the British lottery, because I guess the lottery goes to a lot of like arts funding over there. It played some festivals, yada yada yada. It's released. It got a wide quote unquote release here by Bleecker Street, which just did ISS, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, they're definitely picking up a lot more of this genre stuff. I mean, it's a lane they're definitely running at, along with the Neons of the world. It is the story of a very small group of Paleolithic humans. Was
I right when I said Paleolithic?
Yeah. And the director, in like, I was Googling quickly before the show, in a couple of interviews he called it Paleolithic horror.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know that I would have come up with that word on my own, so good on you, I guess. But, so you've got a group here. There is basically a,
John,
like,
what they call the current era?
The Anthropocene?
The Pyrocene, they say we've entered now. The Age of Fire, which is really metal.
Fire!
Yeah. Well, there's a big debate about whether we're in a new era.
We've entered it or not.
Yeah, the Anthropocene, which would be the like human I don't know. I hadn't heard the Pyrocene one. In any event, you got Adem. He's like the leader of the group. You've got his brother Gair. Then you've got Ave, who is Adem's wife slash like she's pregnant with his child. You have Heron. Now, just a quick pause and question for you all. Heron is the son of Adem in
Yes,
the movie.
but I had to go to Wikipedia to figure that out. There's a very short line in the beginning that if you miss, you're kind of a little lost on the relations.
It comes up a couple times, like because at one point Adem is like, in any event, Adem played by a female actress, according to IMDb, unless that person goes by different pronouns, and I'm causing offense, in which case I'm sorry, but I could not figure. Heron.
You don't sound sorry, John, if I'm being honest.
No, I mean, well, I am sorry. There's not a lot of information about this actor, so that's why I was somewhat confused. And then you've got Odal, who is he's like the old man that they're bringing along for his quote unquote wisdom. And then finally you have Bea, who emerges ultimately to become sort of the main character of the film. She has attached herself to this group. They keep calling her what did they keep calling her? Something like a
stray.
Stray, yes. So she had probably been part of another family, or they like met her somewhere in the woods. They have journeyed a small, whatever, body of water to try to find food. They're starving, like literally starving, and they are trying to find food. They land in this new area, and they just like can't find anything. And they're sort of making their way to try to find shelter up in this mountain range. And on their way, they start to be attacked by an entity that they don't know what it is. They like find some bones, yada yada yada, and that kind of kicks off a lot of the.
They think it's a demon.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they start to say it's a demon, but at first they're like, maybe it's an animal. They find this like whole big pile of bones, but there's also like this goo. There's like a black goo.
Oh yeah, is there ever an explanation for that?
No,
I mean nothing direct that
you can guess.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but that's it. I mean, and so really, what it is about the interactions of this group of people, who effectively become like victims. They're not being like stalker killed necessarily, but they are kind of one after another.
They're being
falling victim.
Pretty directly.
Yeah. Well, at least the first two. Heron disappears, the son. That drives the leader kind of crazy. He starts doing lots of very risky things. And then the group sort of turns against themselves after he is mauled. Pretty graphically, gruesomely, I would say. So,
All
yeah.
right. Casey, what'd you think?
Overall, so Clerks 3 and Randall has that rant about Lord of the Rings.
John has not watched Clerks 3, Casey.
About all the how it's a movie
I'm aware of
about
Clerks
walking.
3. Yeah, and I could guess what his rant was about, but
yeah, it was about a movie about walking, and that's largely what I felt about this movie. I thought this one was a little dry. I thought there was interesting elements to the story and what they were going for here, but ultimately it just kind of felt flat for me. I had struggles, as Eric mentioned, with trying to justify the words and the language they're using. I thought they sounded too well versed for gay people in the Paleolithic area, but at the same time, I wasn't aware the language started like 100,000 years ago, so I may well be wrong. But that was kind of throwing me out of it.
Now that you know the science, you're going to reevaluate your...
Maybe I need to go rewatch.
It just felt like it should have been a little more stilted and guttural or something. I mean,
yeah,
maybe
exactly.
That was just a choice.
I meant to mention this. It's a fake language that's based on... I saw it was on Wikipedia. They said it's based on Arabic and...
Well, but it's not even.
else.
They sounded fine. It's the subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh, Basque.
But I mean, if you're going to make up a language for these Paleolithic people, great. Go all in and add that same flavor to your text that you're putting, your subtext that you're putting.
Like the subtitles were too just the way you and I would speak to each other.
They were modern. They were modernized. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, it just, to me, it felt like there was not enough moments where like tense moments. Well, I mean, I know a good chunk of this movie was some of the tense moments that just felt flat to me. And the ultimate reveal, where I like what they're doing, I don't know necessarily find the way they did the ultimate reveal at the end of this was the best way to go about it or the most exciting. It wasn't presented the most excitingly.
I read the wiki a little while ago and I still don't understand it. So maybe you guys can explain it to me.
Oh, okay.
John, what'd you think?
I can explain it to you. I actually really like this movie. It's pretty trim. I mean, it's under an hour and 30. It is slow-ish to get rolling. I would say a lot of the tension initially is coming from the fact that this group of people is like on the brink of extinction. Like they're like not extinction, like humans aren't going extinct, but this group of people, if they do not find food, it's like very dire.
They left their tribe, to be clear.
Yeah, well, and you have this like woman who's pregnant, and she's like, at one point she goes into a seizure because she hasn't anything to eat. I mean, it's like they are. I don't know, like how authentic are they presenting the lived experience of people 45,000 years ago? I don't know. For me, it was good enough. I wasn't put off by the language. I was just sort of like mystified. I'm like, it's a very strong choice to make up a language. I actually thought the actors did really well. Like,
yeah,
like this is a fake language. They were speaking it as if it was like very naturalistic. Yeah. Like it was delivered. That never bothered me. I didn't have a problem with the way that like subtitles were translated. Like it didn't bother me at any level. I mean, I liked the interaction of the characters. They're not deeply drawn characters, right? Like these are cave people effectively. They are given inner lives to some extent, but not like extensive ones. They're actually given a lot to work with, though, in the context of the movie. We sort of made a joke right at the top, but Bea, who becomes the main character, she basically has her first period or starts menstruating. That becomes like a thing because she's now sort of like sexually available or whatever, like available for reproduction with the leader who like immediately does like some creepy shit with her,
like, whether she wants to or not.
Yeah, well, and so like now there's like an increment, an additional threat that's being placed on. So like all in all, I thought this was like a tight thriller. I actually really liked the way, like I liked the reveal. It worked for me. We can talk about it. It's like a thing I like. Like I've read books that are about this time period. Like there's a Sapiens. I don't know if you guys know this book, Sapiens, the Yuval Harari book. It's like pretty famous. In any event, it like talks about a lot of what's going on in this movie to a certain extent. But so I don't know. I liked it. It's not like the best thing I've ever seen at any level, but it's a really solid first feature, I thought.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with Casey more, but I understand where you're coming from, John. It's sorry. It's hard for me to divorce it from the context. Like, if you just give me this film and say, here's this independent first-time production, I think I'm very favorable to it if I watch this in my home. As a theatrical film, like where they took a trailer and cut a like, I don't want to say misleading trailer because a lot of the movie is, we're going to get into spoilers here, but a lot of the movie is playing with this idea that there might be a demon when in reality, what they are actually have ran into is a group of Neanderthals that are just as afraid of them as they are of them, right? Yeah. Like, but they cut a really horror trailer for it. And I think that is to its detriment because it's not even really what it is. Like if you just showed me this without that context, it's a thriller. I don't know. So it felt a little flat for me. I don't like, and this is just me, I would have preferred a film where it was actually some kind of monster or demon or something. Like when this shit like this happens now, it's like, not that there's not stuff to be said here, but you almost feel the hand of this, like the screenwriter leaning over the table and being like, we were the real monsters all along.
Well,
it's like, yeah, I know. Yeah. I've seen fucking movies before. I understand.
Yeah. And that part, I do think, it was a little heavy-handed too, the way that plays out.
I will say the
whatever.
reveal
can-
is
that may-
cool. The
Yeah, the reveal is good.
is cool because, like, if you know, like you said, John, like they now understand that these like early humans existed alongside like other branches of evolution that eventually died out. That in itself is really fascinating, and that there was in a lot of cases they think like, you know, intermingling and like even breeding and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when
now that
you
you've
get that
mentioned-
reveal of the person and they do the very distinct makeup, like you're like, oh, that's a pretty good moment. I think the other strengths of the film are like just visually, not even necessarily from a filmmaking standpoint, because I think they could have gone farther with it, but the setting is just unreal.
cool. Yeah.
Not surprised to find out it's Scotland because I immediately thought wherever they are, this is where Game of Thrones happened. Like I feel like I've seen Game of Thrones scenes and I know they shot a lot of that in Scotland. I like that they kind of never tell you where you are. You know, from context clues, for me, it was like, well, we were probably either on mainland Europe and like hopped over to the UK, or we were in the UK and then hopped over to like maybe an island that we thought there was a, you know, like oasis or something. But that was kind of cool and reminded me of that Viking movie we did, the infamous
Valhalla
fog
Rising.
discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, where
I
again,
kind of
like,
wondered.
you're not really giving context to where they are, what they're doing, and it seemed that kind of was cool because they wouldn't know. Nobody had a map, you know, like.
My speculation was something to do with like the Aegean Strait, and they came over from that area of the world to Alaska. Was my speculation?
Aegean,
not
Aegean
based
is
on
very
anything.
Greece.
You mean the
You're talking
Bering
about
Strait?
Bering Strait.
Yeah, Bering Strait. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not a geography guy.
The I mean, just because it was funded by British
I just assume we're
taxpayer
talking
money,
Scotland,
you know, yeah.
You know, so, but the strongest visuals in the film are, and it positively reminded me of The Wind.
Yeah,
I'll explain. There's a lot of shots, wide shots of the fire, where you feel it's like they're so isolated but so out in the open. And that's like a very distinct, frightening feeling of like you're all alone and you're also surrounded by just vastness around you, of darkness that you can't see. The Wind used a lot of, to really great effect, shots. Like, remember the two houses
Yeah.
were like across the prairie or whatever?
Well, and they refused in this movie to go into the forest, which I thought was interesting. Like they were
Until they just did it,
legitimately
yeah.
terrified of the forest, and then they sort of had to go in to try to
Yeah.
find the sun.
So I generally agree with the idea that it's like a pretty economical, tight kind of little thriller. I think it's a little heavy-handed in the messaging, gets a little muddled in the end, like where I'm trying to figure out what is happening and motivations and
Well, what were you confused by? This was the thing I don't understand. You clocked all the Neanderthal stuff, so like
Yeah.
why did they take the boy?
so the
Because
boy
that's the
there-
crux of all of it, and and maybe I just missed it, but I don't. Fully
So
understand
he says the boy, after she rescues him, after Bea rescues him from, quote unquote rescues, he says they were trying to save me because they saw I was starving. Like they basically saw that. Now, there's probably also something like it was a couple, at least from what we saw. Like there was like these two Neanderthals. Maybe they just like wanted a kid, They
Well,
they couldn't.
I guess if I'm
reproduce.
putting myself in their shoes, it's like here's an able-bodied young person that can help forage or something, right? But we can't take all of you in,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They had quite the stash of berries.
No, I mean they had a
were
good
set
setup. Yeah, they had a setup for sure.
Well, you also have to speculate on the idea, though, on if this is the first humans these Neanderthals had ever seen. So, like, maybe they didn't they didn't come and grab them all because they didn't know exactly what they were dealing with, and they saw the kid, and he looked friendly, and maybe that lured him in. But that's all speculation.
The very first reveal for me, there was a minute or like a very split second where I was like, just because like it's so obvious visually, which is probably a choice they had to make. Like if they made the Neanderthal look too much like the sapien, the human,
Yeah.
it's just like even more confusing.
They did look very different, though. I mean,
Oh,
it's-
they
Yeah.
made it look well.
No,
They
but I mean
basically
in,
looked
like,
like
scientists, you know, like in
No,
renderings, they look very. I don't think they went. It was pretty accurate. It seemed like.
yeah. No, it also though like looks like the Geico caveman,
Yeah.
which like
Yeah,
is,
the Geico caveman was accurate, John.
I
What do you know from
agree.
that?
There's a
They did
shot
their
of that
homework.
dude in the cave, and I thought the exact same thing. He had like the bowl cut going, and he was standing against the wall, and it just looked like cartoon caveman.
All of their hair was like better kept than I would have expected.
Yeah.
That's fair.
You know, and even like the beards of the men were very handsome. They were like the close cut look.
Because and they obviously didn't have any bladed weapons because all they had was that flint knife.
So
Yeah,
the
I mean,
one
they
guy's
didn't show them
spear,
shaving.
I thought that was an interesting thing. Like the one kid's spear had, I guess it was, I couldn't tell if it was wood or if
was,
it
like,
was
barbed.
stone, but it was barbed, yeah, and like cut into a point.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell what that other guy was carrying. I almost was like, is that supposed to be ivory?
Or like bone. Yeah, it was just like it was
But,
so
like, how
straight
would you get
though.
a bone that straight and long? That
Yeah.
I spent half the movie thinking about what is that guy's spear from and where did he get it?
I assumed it was something native to wherever they came from. Was my first thought, but
That's why he's the boss.
And
you
then I was
know?
like,
He's
maybe
got
like
the
a woolly
longest,
mammoth
straightest
thigh bone. How
Yeah.
how long would that be, John?
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty long, probably. Yeah. I mean, I did walk out of this like wanting to like go check the science, not because it really mattered to me in the moment of watching it, but it hangs a lot on this stuff that we're talking about, right? Like the encroachment of sort of different human species into this other area, and then this conflict. And then Eric, to your point, it's a little heavy-handed in terms of not necessarily the reveal, but I mean, look, the scene where they're all climbing up the chimney, and then the woman comes out the chimney, and Bea goes and fucking just smokes her, like just really brutally kills her. You know, it's a tough one.
Honestly, now that we've talked about it, and that I think that heavy-handed ending is definitely where my issues came more so than the reveal. Now that I think about it, and we've talked about it, the reveal wasn't so bad. It's that heavy-handed ending, and I think that's really good. Kind of what brought this movie down for me, because it just kind of left with me rolling my eyes at the end.
Well, you're definitely not supposed to feel good. Like it's not a heroic. We did it, and then there's the voiceover. Or it's not a voiceover. I guess it's technically subtitle over, where they're sort of. It's a little too explainy. It's more explainy than it needs to be, for sure.
And I didn't really need though all that necessarily that story about they were just trying to help us because it's these people facing the unknown and they've been attacked. So we don't really need a justification or the guilt for it because we've got the reasonings for it.
Yeah,
on both sides, really.
I mean, yeah,
everybody's surviving. That's what really all the message is.
Yeah, barely surviving.
Right.
You're gonna have to listen to the off drop, John, or I'm not gonna.
That's so fine. I would have been pretty annoyed with the leader who had the dream about going across the water. Not great, bro.
I could have used more. Like I did. Yeah, I could use a little more flesh out. Like why were they shunned? Was this a witch situation where they were like shunned from their community, or just that he really needed to go?
Well, they had a exposition drop there when they talked about. It was one of the stories at the very beginning that the old guy was telling, and it was about their tribe and how they went to they migrated to the same place every year to go hunting, and they went back once, and the animals weren't there, so they decided to head south, and then part of the tribe decided, no, we're not doing that. We're going to a fabled land that we've heard is full of food and animals and stuff like that, and that was the whole crux of everything.
Yeah, they went west instead of going south.
They went rogue.
It did seem,
and that's also why I was thinking, like, if you're in mainland Europe and you go west, you're gonna hit. You know, if you're in a certain place, you're gonna hit.
No, that makes sense.
It also seemed like too small of a group, right? Like,
right,
a group this size, you're not surviving in this.
Right.
Yeah, in this time frame. I understand that they had to migrate.
That's why it made me think of The Witch, where the story there is that they were like excommunicated.
Yeah.
Right. No, because and they even talked about how how Ahmed was thinking about the fact that the pregnant wife was the only forager they had, and they brought the old man. He said he grabbed the old man because he pitied him, but the old man then said, "But you also grabbed me because you know if she dies in childbirth, I'm the only one that knows how to forage." You'd think there'd be more thought in the planning. To your point.
Well, yeah, and also the only other thing that I was like very not confused by, but like if they knew how to use boats, presumably they knew how to like build a fucking lean-to or some kind of shelter, right?
Right.
Maybe it was hard for them to transport that kind of stuff, but these guys are just sleeping on the fucking ground. It's pretty brutal.
This is a nitpick, but it did bug me watching the movie. But for that same reason, they came here on this boat. They had nothing but these fur cloaks that they packed all their stuff in. They made sure to show us that and whatnot with the little gear they had. They first get into the forest and they take off running after the kid. Everybody ditches their furs and stuff, and they never go back for it. They had a chance at one point to go through there. It's like, that's really careless for all your belongings in this strange land if that's all you got.
Well, yeah, when they went into the woods, I mean,
Yeah.
they were like truly kind of, survival mode at that point.
Can I say one thing that bothered me?
Sure.
How dirty their hands were when they were eating.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not that they were eating human flesh. It bothered
you
me
were
how
cool
dirty
with
their
that
hands
part.
were.
You were just
Yeah.
like, yeah, that
Like,
totally get that.
How are we even here, John? How did humans even make it?
I bet that, you know what? I bet their immune systems weren't attacking the rest of their
Bet
body
they're
like
better than
most
mine.
of our immune systems do.
All right,
So,
point taken.
you know,
And for a director here, this being a first time production, I'll give him some kudos. There were some elements like to the filmmaking here I did appreciate. He was very, we've already talked about it's got a very tight runtime. It's like, what, 125?
yeah, something like that.
And he makes some good economical choices. There's a whole scene. I mean, it's obvious that Ahmed and Greer are the hunters and trackers of the group, and they're tracking the sun. But typically in these kind of movies, we're going to see every element of every little piece of broken branch and crap and footstep that they're using to tracking. They did away from all this stuff. They showed one or two signs that they found, and they're just going for it, and they're trucking cross country. And admit that there's a couple choices like that I think help make this economical and keep it at that tight 125, which I thought was cool.
It's well edited in that way, right? Like there's not a lot of wasted sequences. And even to your point, you mentioned there's this scene at the beginning where they're telling stories, but it all ends up just being exposition / setup for the rest of what's going on. It's meant to orient you.
But yeah, and I liked how they put that at the beginning in that campfire story setting. Is a perfect way to do an exposition dump.
Yep. Yeah.
That old guy was a real dick.
So this is, I mean, on the characters, right? Like, I thought they were all like were
I'm
well
thinking of it because you're talking
drawn
about
to
that.
each other.
You're talking about that scene though, where he's like, he's telling that story fully to passive aggressively talk shit about the guy that led him there, which is really funny because you don't get that reveal until he gets deeper into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then he was
he was very subtle in his shade.
This is, I think it's the actress Bea. It's her first sort of real role. She had done like one or two shorts, so even as an actress, it was, the guy. His name's Adem, the leader. He was Game of Thrones. He was in like two or three episodes of the old GOT. Yeah, Aggo, I think Aggo. I don't know.
That sounds like a wildling, perhaps.
Yeah, or one of the what was Grey Worm or the eunuchs? The Unsullied. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
He was good though. Like I said, I liked all these guys.
I swear that guy that played Odal looked familiar from something, but he's only got like 5 credits on IMDb.
Oh yeah, he did. I know what you're saying. Yeah. He had a look about him.
All right, that's all I really got about this. John, you got anything more?
Paleolithic horror. Look, it was a lot better than 65. I think. I can't remember if we discussed.
We talked about this recently. We did do it. I don't think you were there.
Oh, okay. Because I watched it and it is real bad. So but there you go, Eric. That's the one where the monster is a monster.
I'll be honest, I was hoping, while I appreciate the Neanderthal thing and the different species coexisting, I appreciate all that stuff. I was really kind of hoping, because they played up the idea that they're going to this fabled land that Autumn knew from his stories as a youth, and that they were going to go over there and run into something crazy, but not like a monster, something crazy big and natural that lived over there.
Like a troll.
Or a saber-toothed tiger or some shit.
Yeah. They do. They see a woolly mammoth, like a carcass.
Right.
So
At one point with the noises the thing was making, I was like, wait, is this like a secret Predator movie?
Oh,
yeah,
so that was the other point I wanted to make really quickly on the language, right? Because they draw a very clear distinction between how erudite or well-spoken the human clan is versus the Neanderthals, who are just screeching.
Yeah.
A lot of
I'll give it, the sound design was good too. That made the theater visit feel a little more worth it.
Mm-hmm.
The surround sound going on in those scenes around the campfire was pretty A+.
Yeah, I did, Eric. I just quickly, because you made that point earlier, and I didn't respond. But it's a weird one to get a full theatrical release. Like it's just
it's pretty random.
There's no star. Like there's
this
not
thing's
even
got
anyone...
Shutter exclusive written all over it, and I don't necessarily mean that as a dig at it. Like it just does.
If I saw this on Shutter, I would have been like blown
That's
away.
What I'm saying.
Like I literally would have been like, hold the phone. New Shutter leader in the clubhouse situation. But I mean, I did see it in the theater. I had it honestly worked for me. Like I had a really nice little afternoon. I'm just sitting in the theater. I don't know, but it's just strange that this got that kind of treatment.
Yeah.
This job thing has changed you, John.
I know. It's very nice.
right before our eyes. Would you recommend Out of Darkness, Casey?
I'd say yes, but wait for home.
John?
I'm saying yes.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. I guess we don't need your list. Although, what's on the list? I actually need to know. If it's not even cracking...
Let's look it up.
Whatever.
I think it's Night Swim.
Oh, my God. Woof.
And...
If that's on the list, you got to put this on there.
Wait a sec. Uh-oh. My list is like... Oh, here we go. Number one.
We'll never make it up after 3 months.
Number one, ISS.
Oh.
Number two, Night Swim.
Dude, you got to put this
and
on. You're telling me
open spots.
You're telling me you got 8 open spots.
I guarantee you this will not make my top 10 list, so no, I refuse.
Dude, you're leaving Night Swim on.
Yeah, it might make it. If this year's as weak as last year, Night Swim could be a 10.
Oh my God, dude.
I'd rank this above Night Swim for me.
Yeah, me too. But
I
kind
of like Night Swim.
Oh man.
But I mean, each their own.
It's not my fault you guys aren't as sophisticated as I am.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Casey.
Yes.
Did you see that thing on Slack from issue 100 of Horror Hound?
Yes.
I got a little shout out.
Nice.
I thought that was cool. I thought that would make you laugh.
You did write for the magazine.
That's right. That was
What
cool.
was the shout out? Now you just take a picture of it and send it to me.
Yeah, I have it here. It's basically just thanking like the people currently making the magazine, and like also here's the people that I think it says like stuck around longer than most and helped us like make all this stuff happen. So like contributors that aren't there anymore but put in work for a while.
They
I probably wrote for them for like 4 or 5 years, probably.
Yeah.
A couple of cover stories, John. you know, no big deal.
Writing. Who knew?
Yeah.
I was just making it up
Crazy.
as I went along.
Yeah.
One of my proudest horror high moments is one of my first articles I wrote for them. I had been following the development of Best Worst Movie, the Troll 2 documentary, and I remember pitching that to Nate there, and he was not feeling that's like me, and I was like, no, for real, this is gonna be like a big deal. You gotta let me do it. And he ended up giving in, and I interviewed the director who was in the Troll 2, and yeah,
He's the kid in the movie.
yeah.
You sent me to see that as part of that was like one of the earlier things I did at Bloody Good Horror.
And then years later, went to a screening and met in Boston and met the guy who plays the dad in Troll 2, who he acted in one movie and then became a dentist, and went out and had dinner with him. That was probably like my favorite horror.
I hope he
connection.
paid. Dennis make a lot of
He
money.
did. He did pay for dinner.
Hell yeah, you better pay.
I want to be a dentist.
Anyway, Horror Hound magazine. Check it out. I ordered a copy. Tell me about Sasquatch Sunset. This is all I know about this. I was on the internet today, John, and I saw a photo of what I was told was Jesse Eisenberg and some other dude dressed up like. Again, you talk about the Geico cave. These are like the Sasquatch equivalent of a Geico caveman, is what they look like.
Yeah.
And they're in this
Yeah.
movie. What is this movie?
Right,
It's an
Riley
absurdist-
Keough.
It's an absurdist comedy.
Yeah, so I got the
Okay, it's a
trailer in
comedy,
front of Out of Darkness. I got the trailer, and it's a Red Band trailer, and it starts with one of the Sasquatches fucking the other Sasquatch from behind.
Yeah.
It's just like that's the start of the trailer. It was crazy.
And going to town.
Oh, I mean, just yeah. It's
And who is
it's-
Riley Keough? Should I know that name?
Yes.
I mean, yes, but I wasn't going to be able to say what she's been in recently. But
Yeah, well, she
directing
was in. She's Lisa Marie Presley's daughter, and she had some TV show on HBO.
oh,
and
Daisy Jones in the Six, yeah.
yes,
Is she
She's in
directing this? Is that what you said?
Logan Lucky. No, she's one of the other actresses in the movie. It's like her, Jesse Eisenberg, are like the two biggest names. There's a couple other folks though.
it's essentially a Sasquatch family comedy.
Riley Keough is in Mad Max Fury Road. She's one of the whatever, I can't remember what they call them.
One of
now,
the concubines.
yeah, that's riding along with
Can we?
Furiosa.
Do you think this qualifies for us because it has?
Oh yeah, I
big
think
feet in it?
I think we're gonna be able to get this in.
It's a
I know this
Sasquatch
is.
family comedy. I'm going to fight for it. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the trailer. I was saying to Casey pre-show, I think it was at Sundance because I get the like Sundance emails. We like bought someone a pass like 3 years ago for Bloody Good Horror, and so I still get the emails. And it was like in one of the headlines. But yeah, I got the trailer for this. I got Immaculate, which it sounds like you guys did not get. This is
I think I saw that online, but it's some kind of nun horror film with Sydney Sweeney.
It's Sydney Sweeney. She plays a nun, and she becomes immaculately pregnant,
Oh,
which is weird because The First Omen is also coming. I got that trailer again. I got like a different trailer. I'm still in. Like it's the trailers for this movie are among the best horror trailers I've seen.
they're
in a
good
while.
trailers, but they could 100% not be reflective of the movie, which is my
Eric,
concern.
are trailers lying to us about a movie? I
Yes,
refuse.
No.
I refuse.
No, of course, but there are some trailers that do an incredible job of selling shitty movies, and I won't be fooled anymore.
I
Fool
I
me
agree
once,
with
John.
you. I am just telling you, if all I have to base my decision about going or not going to see this movie, I would go based on
John,
what
if you
I've
don't
seen
get
in the first
excited about
one.
things, you can't be disappointed.
True, fair enough. And I will come in hot
That's
if
advice
it
to
is
live
a
by.
piece of garbage. But so you've got First Omen and Immaculate. They're coming out like 2 weeks apart too. So we're gonna have like two different religious conception movies. Let's say I don't know.
You know what we never mentioned on the show, John? I'm on Letterboxd now.
Oh, yeah.
Keep
you are.
forgetting to use it, so I don't take that for what it's worth. But
It's not going well.
No.
It's going poorly.
Yeah. You showed up on one of my lists the other day with your 14 total movies.
yeah, so the promise I had to make to myself is that I would only log things from that point forward. That I would not.
Oh,
go down
see,
any
I've
road
gone
of
back.
trying to log everything. Because
I
that's a
go
road
back
to ruin
and,
for
you
me.
know.
So yeah, right now I thought it would be interesting maybe just to track the year and see it at the end of the year.
No, that's fine. I just learned the trick that if you click watched on a movie, you know, like if you're looking at a list, you can say, "Oh, I've seen that." If you click watched, it'll add it to your history, but not like your yearly totals.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like rate something.
So I
Right.
know a lot of people around that. I'm Eric BGH on there if people want to find me.
Well, and Casey has made a lot of pretty useful lists.
Yeah, the list function is pretty fun, and I had a Schnars data geekery moment one day. So
Well, what are the lists?
Well, so
Share
there is
the
a
list.
list of every
Yeah.
movie that we've done.
so we have a full catalog list, which is
Which
all
at this point is
722.
700 something.
I think it's like 722 with this one that I need to go and add. And then I have it broken down too. I've added lists for our top 10s going all the way back to 2014 or 2012. Schnars, I don't remember.
Sweet.
No, it's like 2011, I think, is the first one.
Yeah. So there's a list for each year. So if you go out and search tags and lists on Letterboxd, yeah, you can search. I've got them all tagged with BGH and Bloody Good Horror. And then top horror top 10 for whatever year you're looking for. There's a couple ways to find it there.
It's pretty cool.
Love it. So
Yeah.
wait, so how do people find it? BGH, searching BGH stuff.
Yeah, if you go into your Letterboxd and look at the list, the public list, not your private list, you can search in there for tags and just search the tag BGH. You'll find everything we've added.
Word.
You should. And I'll get some links out on our threads and such. And Instagram maybe sometime this week so you can find those.
Yes, Eric. So
Yeah,
Sorry, I got distracted.
what?
We have an email from Caitlin from Kissimmee. I was trying to read it. It's long, John. I was trying to parse it before I read
Oh,
it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, John, I was on Small Town Failing recently.
I heard. I did
Skills
hear
podcast.
this. Yes. Mm-hmm.
We reviewed a movie called The Secret Ingredient, directed by the dude who directed The Gate. I can't remember his name. It's a weird
Is
name.
the secret ingredient love?
Tibor or something.
You can
Couldn't
spoil
tell
it
what
for
the
me. I'm
secret
not going to watch
ingredient
it.
was, John. I don't remember.
Okay.
So anyway, the Gate story came up on that show.
Yep.
So Caitlin writes in, I'm on my 6th trip through the back episodes. Mind you, I don't know.
God bless her.
What's 700 whatever times 6. That's a lot. I could almost give you a sitcom-like rundown from each episode by now, but instead I want to look at some BGH mysteries. I've continually been searching for a movie because I think it could be the answer to the whole Gate from the Gate thing. Around 2009, I found a movie on a bootleg site called The Gate from 2005. The cover was red with a black iron garden gate on it, and in the doorway of the gate was this little bear dog thing. The man was haunted by this beast as it chased him daily, and would disappear when they got to the gate. I truly think that the whole deal from that email was from this movie. It's impossible to find because of the title, and searching for the movie description is even more impossible. It's a core memory since I downloaded a death virus on my new laptop to watch, thinking I'd see a good monster. Anyway, sorry, this is lengthy. I wish I could find the movie. So if that happened in 2005, we didn't get that email till like 07, 08. So it is possible. Don't you feel
Cracked
bad,
it.
Mel? Yeah.
Cracked it.
She also wrote in to say there is an Arbor Day horror movie. It's from 1990.
Get out of here. Was Arbor
It
Day
is
even a thing then?
Campy 90s fun. I don't know that anyone ever said anything after the Thanksgiving episode, but if it's a holiday horror movie, then I have seen it.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
It's called Arbor Day.
It's called Arbor Day. I was just looking that up. Yep. When taunted on the 20-year anniversary of his parents' murder, Elmer Jacobs awakens from his catatonic trance to reap a crop of victims using gardening tools.
It's always a good sign on IMDb when none of the cast have headshots.
Oh my God, John. Wait, John, you have to. Casey, can you send him this cover?
Yeah.
This is 100% a thing that like Troma would pick up and put out, but not like a Lloyd, this is a thing they would distribute.
I mean, I could probably Google it. Should I
Yeah.
just do that?
In the meantime, Levi says, rating Eric's letterboxd activity 2 stars.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, wow. Wow, Arbor Day. Yeah, this is... Evil has deep roots. I do like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks
File
quality.
that one away for I'm never watching. Molehill? Something?
Anyway, thanks, Caitlin, for keeping the email alive. Casey, you had something you wanted to tell people about?
Yes, I'm going to be, it's not out yet. I think it comes out at the end of this week. I'm going to be hanging out. I've got an episode of the More Deadly podcast with our friends Rachel and Ariel coming out, where they asked me to come and pick out a movie with a female director to discuss, and I chose Blood Diner. And it was a pretty good, fun discussion, and completely unbeknownst to me, it makes for a good episode because I got the origin story of how Rachel and Ariel met, and it's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Stay tuned, I guess. I've never seen Blood Diner.
It's a weird one. It's kind of fun and campy, though. Well, it's so super campy, but
You don't
Casey,
say. A movie called Blood Diner?
yeah.
What do we have on threads?
We got a couple threads out there. You can, if you're on threads, you can come find us at Bloody Good Horror. Let's see here. Coming up first, I lost my bookmark. Apologies. So I'm going to riff here while I look at it. We had 3 replies this week. Questions coming in. Our first one comes from Right Now. What recent movie have you seen that did a really good job of subverting conventional horror tropes?
I don't know, man.
Let's go to my letterbox list and remind
Me
myself
too.
what
Let's
I've
look at my
seen.
letterbox, John.
If only Eric had tagged things, he might better be able to say.
I would say the secret ingredient.
Did you tag that on letterbox?
Yeah, I'm tagging
Oh
everything
my
I watch.
god. Good lord.
What else? What is it for, John?
Yeah, what is it for?
Going back a year or two, I'd say Fresh was pretty good for subverting the standard cannibal tropes.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I don't know, like the hard part of the question is like lots of stuff play with tropes. Are they subverting them or just playing with them?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not qualified to answer that.
How about Destroy All Neighbors and Prog Rock?
How about The Pope's Exorcist for just
That's a
like
good one.
everything that it was doing? It wasn't. I don't know that it was subverting. It was definitely
It was breaking the rules.
It was amplifying for effect.
Yeah. I like that. All right. Eric, you got one? Or you
We're
lost
moving
it? He's
We're
lost
moving
in
on.
Letterboxd.
No, no.
Next up, we have the drummer from Foghat. What's your favorite time period for horror? I'm a sucker for 70s Italian gore.
Early
If
to
we're-
mid to late 80s. It's the 80s for me.
Well, but are we talking about when the movies are set or like when they were made?
The
Because
answer
like
doesn't change.
Paleolithic is like up there now for me. I like Middle Ages, like Dark Ages, kind of old monasteries and shit like that. You can't go wrong there.
Yeah. I really like the old Gothic eras of like the Hammer horror movies,
Yeah,
Amicus
sure.
movies and stuff. That's like my favorite period if we had to pick one.
Sure, love that too.
All right, last up, we have our buddy Skylar, Popcorn Designs. What's a shitty movie that you know is shitty, but you still love it? I still think Wish Upon is a hilariously fun watch. Hot Dumpster Daddy on the sax, baby.
That made me laugh when I saw that. That's a good question that I do not know that I have an answer to. I think Sleepaway Camp 2 is a pretty unequivocally shitty movie that I deeply love. But it's also kind of intentionally goofy and campy.
Some people would argue Six String Samurai. And I can kind of see where they're coming from. It's not a movie that's going to look good to people that are not into weird shit. It just struck a good chord with me. Pun intended.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer. I mean, there's like, I feel like all of those slashers, you know, like any of that sort of era, you know, early 80s to mid 80s, all that shit was like intentionally ridiculous at some level.
Yeah.
And fun. Beloved, but bad.
All right.
Eric?
All right. That's it for threads.
One question from Slack that I want to make sure I read because Levi was the only person that helped us out with a question after I said we needed questions.
Do you want to say why we needed questions? Was it potentially...
No?
Okay. We don't need to get into it.
He says, what's a good first date horror film?
Oh, it's Valentine's Day. We didn't even mention. Happy Valentine's Day, you guys.
We mentioned it earlier with your red shirt.
Oh, true. Yeah, we did.
I just wanted the chance to retell a story that my parents' first date was to go see Deliverance.
That's a good one. I'm sure I've told the story, but I took Suzanne to see History of Violence, which, you know, it's Cronenberg. We had to get that out of the way early, and good times. What's a good one?
Well, I'd started answering Levi's question on Slack, not paying attention to what channel I was in and that it was actually posted for the show. But Colleen and I's first date was Needful Things. And while I wouldn't call it necessarily a good choice, I can't argue with the results 30 years later.
That's a long-ass movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
The book is super long, I remember. I've seen the movie, but, you know, a long time ago.
Yeah. But that was more than anything, it was a Stephen King movie, and that's like the point where Colleen and I started to realize, hey, we like the same stuff.
You got to keep it a little light. That's in everybody's best interest, usually. So.
Yeah, don't take her to a trauma movie.
No. Don't take anyone to a trauma movie.
You need to learn a lot.
You do. That's fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
You
Okay.
could skip right to your first argument. That would be helpful. See how that goes. Oh, that's it. Oh, sorry, from Slack. Let me look at Instagram quick.
I was like, Eric, you sent us one question before the show that I actually prepared for, and I was like, we're not even going to get to it. Okay.
Did you miss the part about me being sick, John?
You know, I still hold you to a higher standard is all I'm saying. You know? So.
Oh, but we
I'm
can
sick
see it.
baby, John, and I need sympathy. Please.
Well, we can see your energy levels dropping in real time.
Shut up. First question from Adam. How does it compare to Caveman starring Ringo Starr, which I did not know existed until I Googled it.
I do. I've seen that one. I saw that one when I was like probably a teenager and didn't fully understand what was going on.
What's it about?
It's just a goofy, really super goofy comedy about cavemen with Ringo Starr as one of them. And I'm like talking like Benny Hill running around and, you know, high speed, etc., chasing each other around kind of hijinks. It's pretty goofy.
I'll get to your question in a second, John. But I want to read this one first. Box of chocolates or chocolate-covered strawberries?
For me to consume or that I am buying for
open-ended question.
My partner? Suzanne would prefer the chocolate-covered strawberries. I would prefer the box of chocolates.
This may be a controversial opinion, but I love fruit. I eat fruit constantly. I love chocolate. My brain does not understand the idea of why you want the two of them together. I don't think it works, honestly.
It has to
Maybe
be.
I might buy the argument for a banana, but like not a strawberry. They're two like completely different flavor things going on.
Well, they have to be like fresh. Like it has to be made very recently. You don't want these things coming out of a box, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Eric, have you ever had the chocolate covered cherries? Like those are more
Like a cordial?
prepackaged.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah. But that's
they're
like,
pretty tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going chocolates, I guess. I don't really get the fruit thing.
I go
I
the
do
box
love a
of
good edible
chocolates.
arrangement. Just give me the fruit, John. Fruit, if you didn't know, is nature's candy. Everything you need right there.
I got Colleen a fruit bouquet like 2 years ago, and it was like 95% muskmelon. It was so disappointing.
Okay. I closed my phone. Here's the question John wants.
Well, you sent it to us before the show, which no
it
one
was a
ever
thinker.
does. So I actually
It was a
prepared.
thinker. What movie did you watch for the show that made you seriously question if you should keep going?
Do you want my answer first, or Casey, you want to do your answer?
I'm going to throw out the infamous prom night episode, and it wasn't necessarily should we keep going, but it was, oh God, are we going to keep going?
Fair.
Yeah, it was a little bumpy there for a hot minute, but we were fine.
The one that my head went to was, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but you guys will definitely know. When did we watch? Eric made us watch an Uwe Boll like video game
Postal?
adaptation or something.
Postal.
Yes, Postal.
It was a staff pick I did.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the movie for me. Where I was just like, "What are we doing here?
I'm not contributing to society. Why?
What is this?" I mean,
I don't know if there's
where-
a specific movie, but and people who listen to the show are well aware of this, but like during quarantine, like the beginning of the pandemic, I was not doing great, John, and the parade of fucking the most depressing shit you have ever seen got released all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And the one movie that comes to mind is that kind of subverted superhero thing where the kid has powers and is like dangerous, and so the dad keeps the kid inside with all the windows newspapered up.
I believe
so
it's called
nobody-
Freaks.
I thought that was
Jesus Christ.
Brightburn.
That-
No.
that's
He's
neither of
talking
those
about
things.
he's talking about one. I know that's. I was thinking Brightburn. It's not that. It's. I'm pretty sure it's either called Freak or Freaks or something like that.
something like that.
It
that-
had what's his name? Emil Hirsch is like the dad.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
pretty sure.
Yeah. You're right. So that was a point at which I was just like, week to week, like, all right, I can take some of these depressing things, but I need something silly in between.
Yeah.
That movie was silly. I thought. Yeah. No, I hear you.
I've never seriously thought about.
No, for me,
Yeah.
the ones that
Yeah.
it's like that push you to the line, there was like a string of like just really bad possession movies, back in whatever, like the mid 2010s. And it was just like, what the fuck? Like, guys.
Yeah.
My
There
thing
was
now
that-
is like if something really bothers me, I just request that we counter program the next week so I can like
Yeah.
flip it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I've had movies that make me angry but never really make me question moving on like that. I think it was
I thought you were
Jeremy
going to say
Sist-
unfriended, Casey.
No. No, I was going to say that, Jade. I think it was Jeremy Sisto, and it was like Behind the Door or Beyond the Door or something.
Yeah. Oh, I thought
That
was
movie made me
alright.
so. I thought that movie made me angry from what I
mean-
remember.
One of my favorite moments in show history is Casey's like just unhinged rant about how upset he was that Unfriended took place entirely on a computer screen. Like he was apoplectic about it.
I don't
Well,
even think
that-
I was on that episode of the show.
It wasn't
So funny.
My rant wasn't. I don't think was on the show. It was me texting you guys the movie. Why the fuck is this on
what
a
the
laptop
fucking
screen?
I've never seen him that worked up about anything.
Am I watching a laptop screen for the next 2 hours?
I like that movie. The other side of the door.
I like
forgot
it.
about
Hot
that.
Sec.
I think even Casey's come around on it with time.
Oh yeah, I like it over time. There's some good
It's
stuff
just-
in there.
For a person that does not get worked up, I mean, normally like I'm the one complaining about something. It's just
Yeah.
funny to see Casey get fired up.
That was my old man rant for the show. For sure.
All right, that was some Paul.
Because
There
was a second movie that we covered that took place on a computer screen, and you guys were like, after you guys first went and seen it, you guys were texting me like, "Hey, Casey, just so you know, this is on a computer screen," and I'm like, "I'm okay now. It's not."
It was probably unfriended too.
It might have been. Oh no, it was the one during quarantine with the girls who got doing the seance over Zoom.
Host.
Yes.
That movie's good.
That is good.
That was pretty good.
Okay. Two more quick ones. Brian, with the news about Brock Lesnar, is it time to bring in a new opponent?
I thought we
Undertaker,
weren't going to
question mark?
discuss this. It's so grim. I don't want to get.
We don't have to discuss the news, but I think his point stands, which is that it's probably time for a new joke.
We are retiring
That-
Brock Lesnar. There was a text conversation about this briefly.
Yeah.
That joke also has not been funny in a long time, although I did enjoy the
That was
the-
great. Well,
We're open to like other monster slashers versus other monster slashers. That's still cool.
I'm still gonna wear the shirt though. Is that okay? Can I still wear the shirt?
Undecided. I think I need a third party to weigh in on that.
Okay. All right.
You can wear it in your house. No one
It's
can
very
stop you from wearing it in
comfortable.
your house.
Like that cotton that it's printed on is great.
Was that a T Public?
No.
Oh yeah,
it
you know what?
was.
It was no, it was oh fuck, I can remember because we bulk ordered those and we were shipping them by hand. That was
That
the
was-
worst.
That's why it's a nicer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the last, like second to last one we did bulk orders.
Yeah.
I think CC's design for Milwaukee was the last one we did bulk orders.
Yeah, it might have been.
That one's nice too.
Yeah.
I was just wearing that one the other day. Is there last one from Chris? Is there a time period you'd like to see more horror take place in?
The
You know
future.
John's answer. Future? I like
I
that.
mean, yeah, let's go. Let's just, yeah.
I mean, mine's very specific, but I want to see Predator versus a samurai in feudal Japan.
Sure.
That'd be pretty badass.
Like we are very due for some early 2000s period piece horror. It was 20 years ago. It's a little harder to establish that, but it's just like, they've got Nokias and flares, chunky shoe, like whatever. It's not quite as like. But here's the interesting thing, though, right?
You might need to write that because I don't think anyone else is.
Here's the
writing that
interesting
right
thing, though, is that like when you dip back into the 90s and then even farther, 80s, 70s, even more, part of the visual cues that you're in that era are oftentimes like a degradation of the picture
Yeah.
because film itself wasn't kept well, it didn't age well. Whereas like the closer once you get into the 21st century, yeah, I mean I can look at something from the early 2000s and tell you it was from then, pre-HD and some whatever, but
Yeah.
those,
I always look
those
for the phones,
tells
to
are
your point.
less. Those tells are less prominent, so it becomes much more about really technology
Set dressing.
and
Yeah,
clothing and
fashion.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like clothing doesn't
mean-
swing quite as hard as it did in like the 70s and 80s. I
Yeah.
feel like.
No,
Yeah.
true.
I always that's when, especially in those movies that we do get that are in that weird era, that's what I always look for first is the phone. Are they on iPhones? Then it's fairly modern. If they're on a Nokia,
I always think of that secret Final Destination prequel that came out.
Yeah.
That was one of the best twists of any movie we've done on the show. Like, because then you're like,
Twist.
oh,
This is the first
that's why
one,
that-
really.
well, Casey, you said phone.
Yeah.
That dude has like a brick phone in that, and you're like, what? Why is this dude have this fucking phone? But it's the only thing really that you'd like pick up.
Right.
It's brilliant.
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 Okay.
You're out next week, John.
Yep. It sounds like you all are going to try to get to Lisa Frankenstein.
I think we're gonna do Lisa Frankenstein.
Yo.
Hearing real mixed bag is what I'm hearing.
I'm
about that movie,
Yeah.
John.
appreciative of not having to go see it, is what I will say. But, you guys tell me if I should check it out. I
But
will.
we'll probably get some zombie girls out here, and yeah, we'll make it happen.
Ariel and Rachel just dropped today. They did a More Deadly with Zelda Williams and Diablo Cody.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So head out to Zombie Girls Podcast Network. You can find that out there right now.
There you go. All right. That's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye-bye.